Good to go. All right. Right. Thanks, folks, for being here this afternoon. We'll see if we can get through this quickly. We'll call the meeting to order. Is there any declarations of conflict?
See none?
All right. Approval of the agenda, please.
I'll approve it.
Moved and seconded. Thank you very much. Adoption of the minutes from the January 26th meeting.
Sure.
Moved. Seconded. Okay, thank you. Business arising from the minutes.
No, the mayor's not here. No.
Seeing none. All right, we'll move right into reports. So fire operational report. Chief, whenever you're ready.
Okay, Deputy.
Oh, deputy, sorry.
Chair, thank you. The operational report from 20 January to 17 February 21. All these numbers and items are inclusive. Total fire inspections, 31. All fire inspections, 14. And inspections with hazard compliance orders issued were 12. 5 inspection files were closed, 4 plan reviews completed, 4 fire investigations, and we had a fire inspector make the 1 court appearance most recently. Emergency responses, we had 66 total calls, 40 at District 1, 17 District 2, and 9 inspector comments. Total time on scene, 26 hours and 38 minutes. Our weekly departmental training consisted of job performance reviews, ventilation fire control methods, theory class, apparatus familiarization with the new trucks in-house, emergency response guide and hazardous material scenarios, communications practice, radio and face-to-face, and rapid intervention team practice. We continue to monitor COVID-19 precautions and take all of the necessary steps in accordance with our op plan. Department activities are 14 new recruits continue on their level 1 course, and we have 9 members on their PEI firefighter level 2 course, which is the next step up from a level 1, obviously, from firefighters, volunteers. Members have also completed MFR full and recertification courses, as well as the hazmat awareness course, and we have another one scheduled for this coming weekend. Fire Prevention Office has been very proactive in identifying an increase in cooking and kitchen-related fires in the city. As a result, we've put together some public awareness messaging and developed and coordinated with CBC a stovetop fire demonstration, which is coming down the line. So we'll get that out there in the news and keep making headway in that regard. That concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you, Deputy. Any questions for Mr. Mamie? Tim, just when I read the recruits, so we have 14 that are still in it, and 9 of the 14 have gone to level 2.
No, that's 9 other department members.
Okay.
14 are all
Still
new recruits for level 1. The level 2 course is normally after a year or 2 in the department.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, that's still great numbers.
Yeah.
14. It's very encouraging. All right. Good. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Mamie. Right, Chief.
Chair, just a couple of points. Engine 1 is now back at Station 1 after receiving some body repair work and new roll-up doors. And hopefully this Thursday, the decal package will go on the truck, so then it'll be put into service. So good to see that. Ladder 1, we've just received an updated set of drawings for it before the truck was into production, so we're getting ready to take a look at those final plans. There's only a few minor adjustments on them that were made. Capital and operational budgets, preparation continues for both budgets. Negotiations, we've met 5 times, management has met 5 times with the local union, and we continue to meet. We're going to resume negotiations on March 4th and 5th. So those negotiations are ongoing. Last month, you recall, we chatted about the purchasing the 1923 ladder truck.
I have a note here to ask you.
Yeah, no, I've been in contact with the owners. They're pleased to see that it's coming back to the city. We'll make some arrangements probably in a couple of months' time when things dry up and we get a place to store the vehicle, that sort of thing. And we'll float it back to here to the city and we'll look at restoration of it.
So the deal's done.
Verbally, there is an
Okay.
agreement that we will buy for $2,500.
Beautiful.
They're excited about that. And they're going to take some time over the next couple of weeks and put some parts back on the truck because they were in the restoration, so
Yeah.
we're in the beginning of restoration, so they'll put it back together and get it back to us.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Good
so
job.
we're looking forward to that. So there'll be lots of research to be done on the vehicle when it was purchased by the city and that sort of thing. Also, emergency generators. That project continues. It's in the design phase. Hopefully, we'll be seeing it when the construction season turns the corner later in the spring, and we'll be able to get some generators installed. The fire prevention bylaw, that review continues along with the EMO bylaw. Those are both under revision and we're working on those.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions for the Chief?
No, we're good.
The fire prevention bylaw, Chief, when are we anticipating bringing something forward on that? I know we're in the review stage still.
Right. I'm preparing a PowerPoint presentation now.
Okay.
And that's pretty well coming to the end.
Okay.
What we anticipate is probably going to the stakeholders first, having a discussion with sprinkler companies, that sort of thing, get
Okay.
some of their feedback, address their concerns if they have any, and when we get everything ironed out, come to committee with a request for adoption in principle,
Okay.
then back to legal for fine tuning the bylaw, and then create a reading paper.
So, kind of a goal when we want this to be achieved by. You're hoping by the fall, midsummer.
Oh yeah, I would hope by summer that we would probably have enough information to come before council, make a presentation,
Okay.
and be able to create a first reading.
Awesome. All right. No questions? Thank you, Chief. All right, moving on to bylaws.
Just one item, Chair. Brad, we just want to do the update on the meeting with regard to ride share and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so as some of you may be aware, Kerry, the new rideshare service has launched. Preceding that, I had met personally with representatives from the taxi industry and Kerry to talk about how they fit and didn't fit within our bylaw, and tried to address any concerns before they became led to conflict. I'm not aware of any disputes since they've rolled out. However, forward thinking, I think we have to look at and follow the lead of other jurisdictions like Halifax and Fredericton that have amended their bylaws to include ride-sharing provisions. I guess the question at this point is will the industry be sustainable here? I think, and that's the question. Do we need to, so as I guess we'll monitor their progress and other people that get into the ride sharing business, but use that time to, and I already have, to look at what Halifax and Fredericton are doing. So at some point we'll bring to committee maybe some recommendations for changes in the bylaw to accommodate ride sharing. While we're on taxis, Councillor McLeod and I are also part of a accessible taxi committee that have been meeting and to look at a new government program that's trying to promote taxis to get into the accessible taxi business. So those talks are ongoing, and there may be some changes in our bylaw that are required, but we'll keep the committee updated on any changes that will be required to do that.
Thank you, Deputy. So any negative feedback on the rideshare?
I've not heard anything as of yet, but again, it's COVID times and it's not a regular day. So it'll be interesting to see as we move back to a norm how that impacts our local taxi industry.
Okay, and it's kind of the same question I asked the chief. So we talked about reviewing the bylaw. Are you anticipating bringing something back summertime for amendments to the bylaw, or sooner, or just curious?
I guess we're taking a very wait and see kind of approach. Like this is new in Halifax, new in Fredericton, and we're just trying to look and see what lessons can be learned before we kind of framework it for here in Charlottetown. And the industry, it's mostly industry driven, and there's more of a demand in those areas. So we haven't really got to the point where they've been already. So we'll keep, but I foresee, in the summertime, that time period that we'll be having some framework, for review anyway to committee.
Yeah, like the premier's announced that the bubble will be opened for the spring, sort of summer, and it'd be nice to have something in place that when the Atlantic bubble does open up and things get busier, that we're not left standing there watching, sort of thing, and we're being proactive.
Yeah, one of the challenges again is that it only relates to Charlottetown, and ride shares are typically, talking about Kerry specifically, is an island-wide initiative. So trying to regulate it in one area and not regulate it in other, is kind of what's unique here.
Yeah. Does Trafford and Cornwall have any bylaws in place currently for taxi? They don't.
No.
I'm assuming we've discussed it with them. Is there any appetite on their part to work towards a common bylaw for all three?
There hasn't been.
There hasn't been.
Is it worth it or no? I'm just.
I think it makes sense. I really think, having my involvement in it, that really, given our island, we should be looking at some sort of provincial bylaw to cover taxis, because it's quite often that taxis flow from Charlottetown to Montague or Surrey or different places. I don't know if that's the same in from Halifax to Kentville, for example. You know what I mean? Where they so I think we kind of have a unique scenario here. I think we could create a capital region bylaw taxi, and maybe that will have some impact. But again, where does that leave the rest of the province?
I guess it's worth exploring.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We can do that if that's.
All right.
Hurry right up with that.
Yeah. All right. Any questions for?
No, and I like the deputy's idea too, is that it's a wait and see program, but basically with the ride share, right? You just see how things are gonna work out, and if there's any issues and all that along the line, then you can address them. Well, it's only new, right?
Yeah, it's a new business, and if it's sustainable, then I guess that is one of the questions, and we want to make our bylaws inclusive and relevant, and I think it'd just be prudent to kind of wait to see how it evolves and look at what lessons can be learned from neighboring jurisdictions that are just going through the same thing.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Moving on.
Okay, Chair, personnel, we had posted our lateral movement with regard to our major crime unit. That has been completed. Constable McKinnon was in major crime. He's back on patrol, and Constable Tara Watts has now been assigned to major crime. In terms of vacancies, HR has just set up the interview process for the reception ticket position. I think interview dates first next week, Sean?
Yeah, March 1st.
Yeah. Okay.
5 interviews.
Good.
So we should have that wound up by the end of next week, hopefully, and get that thing out. The contract discussions for the union, that's where we were prior to this meeting, was we were meeting with HR and the city solicitor to go over the proposal package from the APA. So we've reviewed that. There's a little bit of homework we have to do to get ready for our first actual sit-down discussion with them, but that'll probably be a little bit, a few weeks down the road kind of thing. Because I think the union executive right now is in the middle of a transition, so they'll be having an election here coming not that far down the road. So we'll find out who will actually be sitting down to discuss the contract proposals with in the coming weeks. That's it for HR. The mental health, the provincial outreach program, that's still going forward. There's still discussions going ahead. It hasn't actually rolled out in terms of the police response. You may have seen some of the things in the news last week with the opposition party members questioning the rationale behind police involvement in the mobile mental health. At the end of the day, police are still going to be involved in mental health calls, so to that extent, it still makes sense to have police involved in it. That said, the mobile unit itself is not ready to roll yet. We haven't seen any MOU or anything put to paper yet to get all that kind of stuff done, but we're still certainly interested in moving the thing forward, but we won't be jumping too soon until we actually see what's on paper, what are you talking about in terms of money allocations, staffing, how we're gonna make sure our people are properly equipped, all that kind of thing, so.
Is the province is taking the lead on this, right?
This is out of health PEI,
Right.
mental health and addictions, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
On that too, thank you, Chief, I watched that too, and you're sitting there saying now, are we gonna be taking officers from our daily unit and going with those people, right? With the mental health, I shouldn't say those people, but the mental health van and all that stuff. So is that gonna make us shorter? on
No,
our units?
the idea would be, once we see an MOU and we start to review it, one of the other things that we have to go back to them with is say, look, at the end of the day, we're gonna have to have a discussion with our union, because what we would propose that we would do, for example, if this is gonna be a one-year pilot, then we would sit down and have discussions with the union. We don't anticipate there be any problem with the discussion, but what we would be proposing is that we would take one of our full-time staff people, one of the people that's properly trained, post it out, give them the opportunity to apply for this mobile unit, and then we would hire a part-time person to backfill that position until the pilot is done, and they make a determination of whether or not, if it's going to be permanent, then they will fund the permanent position. They'll fund the position, period.
Okay.
But as a pilot, we wouldn't be down anybody, we would backfill that with a part-time person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there any cost implications to the city for this, or is it fully funded by the government?
At this point, it's cost neutral to us,
Okay. Perfect.
but we want to see everything on paper first.
Right.
Shall we done then?
Well done.
Been down that road before.
Yeah. Fool me once.
I'm sure it's still going to be true.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So that's it right now on the update on the mobile mental health. Sean, you've got the community policing update?
Sean, before you go, just any questions for the chief on the mental health piece or the personnel?
No, you explained it perfect.
Okay, we're good. Sorry, Sean.
Okay, thanks, Chair. You start off with what we discussed last month there with the situation with safety concerns and no sidewalks on Raiders Road. Issues where cars park along the roadway with no sidewalk on Raiders Road. Kids have to walk to the ball field to the park. Ball field was not being cleared of snow. No overflow parking provided by public school branch for students. Olds bus depot can't be used due to safety and property concerns. So, as I said, we were going to have down Constable Kaiser and SRO McKay. Met with Steve Wynn, the VP, to discuss the concerns. Public Works attended on January 28th and put up signage on Raiders Road for no parking along the right side and added a needed to stop sign. A concerned citizen in the area has taken it into his own hands to plow out the ball field. So they are parking in there, but we're not doing the plowing. And it's been addressed for all traffic concerns until a more permanent solution is decided upon by the school board.
Thank you.
Okay. Constable Kaiser took a 3-week restorative justice facilitators course and is now certified to mediate over cases that files diverted from the court system by officers in the Crown. This is a new initiative that is being implemented by the PEI justice system. 13 people from various backgrounds have been trained. Constable Kaiser is the only police officer that was selected for the course. The aim is to address issues that may or may not be required to go to court, but to mediate differences among parties. So it's a way of facilitating outside of the court system. Constable Costello is an SRO. She completed a course administered by the Department of Social Services in order to be qualified to work as a member of the Situation Table, which is part of the Bridge program. CPS now has both of our SROs qualified to perform bridge functions as their secondary duty. So now both can split that secondary task. I met with executive from the Federation Center of the Arts and Councillor Duffy and city staff from Economic Development and Tourism to address oncoming issues that we may find with vagrancy, loitering, panhandling in the city's historic downtown, especially with now with the new library being built and the renovations there. And we've come up with a couple of ideas. Healthy knee assignments have been handed out and will begin starting in March. So we have 10 trained CPS officers that will conduct the course in 10 elementary schools, reaching over 500 grade 6 students when it's completed. And I'll give you an update on how that's going in March. Last week we had our officers out in and around the Boys and Girls Club in relation to complaints of traffic not yielding to pedestrians in that area. First thing that happened was the snowbanks were removed for greater visibility. And on February 19th, particular enforcement was done. We had plainclothes officers set up, walking back and forth on the crosswalk, and we had chase vehicles. And we were able to lay 5 highway traffic charges related to those offenses. Constable Costello was also doing some night talks with Colonel Gray parents. Happens every Wednesday. So she's speaking on issues related to traffic calming, stats, social media, safety, and smoking, cannabis, and vapor. And then finally, we did a seal rescue. I don't know if anyone's seen it yet, but it's gotten a lot of traction on social media. Guys look good, and it's going to be on Compass tonight.
I saw one post on Facebook talking about this is Charlottetown's new SEAL team.
There's another one that has the music to the old Cops show.
Yeah.
And they're apprehending it and putting it in the back of the police car.
Well, that'd be good.
I thought the interview was funny because he was so straight. He was so straight.
He played it up a little
So
bit.
straight laced, like he did that. It was
some serious
the SEAL put up some resistance, but we still got her in the car.
It worked out well.
Yeah. It's funny all the hard work, all the hard work that the 2 departments do on a daily basis, the lives you guys save and everything else, and like I said, it's a seal that steals the thunder.
It's attraction.
Yeah, it
you're
just
right.
public loves those stories. Yeah. All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Coombs?
Thank you.
No, I'd like to thank you, Sean, for the Sheriff on Railroad thing. And you said there's a concerned citizen doing the parking lot?
There's a private citizen who's taking his own tractor and cleaning that ball diamond right now.
Is that right?
Yeah, so the kids can't park in there, so there is the additional parking until.
For liability, is he allowed to do this? This is the city's property?
It's a good question. I better check with Constable Kaiser on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he must
I'm
have
not-
some sort of permission, but I'll double check.
I mean,
that.
I don't want to put a damper on it. Because
Yeah.
It's fantastic what he's doing, but at the same time, what happens if something happens and he's a private citizen and on city property, right?
Yeah.
The other concern around that too is any damage to the field.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Right.
Field, yeah.
With the milder weather, if there's any
Yes.
damage, then
Yeah.
what type of damage is going to be
Yeah,
done?
that's right.
I'll double check on that.
Yeah, just to make sure, because you don't want anyone in trouble for doing a good deed.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for looking into that.
No problem.
Any other questions? Councillor Duran,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes out of sight, out of mind, sorry. Any questions, any comments for fire or police?
Yes, I just have the one, Councillor Bard.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
The last couple of months I've been asking, and it's been going back from planning to our committee here. The issue I have is with the snow removal bylaw, and I think what happened last month, it said it had to be on city property. But when I'm looking at the snow removal bylaw, it says 3.2B, and it says remove snow from any yard, street, sidewalk, playground, or any type of property or premise in any manner which obstructs traffic or creates a safety hazard is guilty of an offense. Now, I have a property in my ward that, where a bank is, on the corner, there's the SO and the bank, Nova Scotia, and that is, well, the lot itself is being plowed and quite high there today, and the house that is next to it, like, they're scared every time that it melts, that they're going to be flooded out. And I've been asking different committees, and there's nothing there, but can we look into that? Like, it says under this 3.2B, if it creates a safety hazard, and if you're in danger of getting flooded out, would that not consist of being a hazard? Just wondering if someone could look at that for me.
Councillor Duran, I know when I chaired planning, there is talk about, you can't steer water off your property onto someone else's, and that's usually solved at the grading level when we issue permits, but it's still not allowed. So again, I don't see how this situation would be any different. That if on your property, if water is being steered in whatever capacity, being it trenching or because of the result of a snow pile, you can't direct water onto someone else's property.
And I, thank you for that. I had asked about here because the snow removal bylaw falls under this committee. But when I asked the planning committee or the manager, he said, well, that's a civil matter. But, where do I go? I just keep going back and forth to see what could be done. I just don't know where else to ask it, right? Because I just keep getting pushed around to the next committee
Okay. So, Chief, Deputy Chief, can we bring this to some kind of resolution? Can we find out exactly what we can do as opposed to going back to planning, back to here, and because again, with the amount of snow being piled up, you're right, the mild weather coming, this is only going to be an issue, and we may as well solve it.
We'll make an inquiry with planning and see where it can go, because from the safety perspective, that's more obscuring from a traffic piece.
Okay.
As opposed to pushing it over on somebody's lot. So we have to check with planning and see if they've got anything they can do.
Okay.
Councillor Drone, can you forward the details on that specific place that you're talking about there, just so we can use it for reference?
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Drum, we'll hopefully have an answer for you before next meeting as to what we can do, and maybe, like I said, maybe there's an appetite for this committee to sit down and say, can we amend the bylaws to deal with this kind of stuff in the future?
That would be great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from you, Councillor Drum? Okay.
I'm great. Thank you.
Councillor McLeod, Councillor Ramsey.
I'm great, thank you.
All right, so I guess we have to move into a closed session. So moving to closed session as per section 119, 1B, E, and H of the MGA. Do I have someone move that?
I'll move that.
Moved and seconded. Thank you very much. We'll move into a closed